All right, let's come to the second important topic under teaching aptitude, which is objective of teaching. We've completed this part, and I think some of these topics are now familiar to you, and you're able to do the PYQs. Next, we have objective of teaching, and you'll be happy to know that this topic is a breather and very easy to understand, and not a lot of concepts to memorize. Here you had to learn about Bloom's classification, and you have to know what are the three classification and what do each of this mean. Here you just have to know the gist, and you'll be able to solve the PYQs. So, going a bit deeper, under effective practices, we have the maxims of teaching, which is very similar to principles. So, I'll go to this topic in depth. You'll be able to do psychological principles, general principles. I'll also teach you what micro teaching is, differences between teaching and learning, qualities of effective teacher, tips for better classroom management, and metacore and polycrest skills for teachers. These might be new vocabulary terms for you, so a bit of remembering, but not much. So let's come to the first topic, which is maxims of teaching. Maxims of teaching are basically instructions and principles that teachers need to follow in order to teach well. You are all going to be professors one day, and we all know a feeling what a good teacher can bring to the classroom. They come in with passion and they leave you with passion. So you should learn how to teach well. Principle number one is known to unknown. This principle of teaching says that when a teacher is teaching something unknown to a child, they can make it easy by helping the child visualize from what it already knows and help them connect from what they know to what they don't know. For example, when a child is learning about electricity, a teacher can talk about water flowing in the pipes. That is something that the student can visualize, and the same way how electricity flows on wires. Resistors could be like a big pipe, capacitors could be like a tank. So this is how you move from known to unknown. Next is from simple to complex. First, you teach the simple topics and then move on to complex topics. And we do this in maths a lot. First, we learn the formulas and then we do the easy sums. The teacher usually teaches it in the class. And then we move to bigger problems and then we move to mixed problems. So, this is how we go from simple to complex. Next principle is from concrete to abstract. Again, taking example from maths, first we learn about numbers. We can count them in our hand. It's easy to see. Then we learn about algebra. Again, we can do it in our copies. Again, easy to see. Then we finally learn about imaginary numbers where we have to actually visualize, and it's very abstract. That's why a lot of times people find maths difficult because it is abstract. It's not very easy to imagine. Next is from particular to general, and this is also called inductive way of teaching, where you teach about something that's small, such as dropping a ball from your hand and seeing it go down and then relating it with gravity. Similarly, from whole to part is deductive way of teaching, where you talk about gravity and then show the students how it happens by releasing a ball and then maybe calculating the acceleration. So from whole to part. Next is from empirical to rational. For this, let me take an example of our planet. We have been noticing that temperatures have been rising. We have been noticing that the glaciers have been melting. From these evidences, then we can make out that climate change is happening. So we go from empirical to rational. Next is from psychological to logical. When I first started teaching maxims of teaching, I first told you about why we need maxims of teaching and how a good teacher changes our lives. That's why we need to learn all of this. So I'm connecting with your emotion and then going towards logical on why we need it. So this is basically from psychological to logical. From indefinite to definite. Let's take an example of ecosystem. We first learn about herbivores, carnivores, small aspects of ecosystem, and then we learn how they're all connected together. So this is from indefinite to definite. For analysis to synthesis, I give an example of different forms of government. One has democracy, some has autocratic, some have communist. So there are different type. So first you learn the different type, and then you learn to synthesize what is best. You try to learn the positives and negatives of each, and then you evaluate what do you want. You put your own values into it, and then you associate them with you. So this is from analysis to synthesis. Next is from active to passive. Here, a teacher teaches by doing a role play. For example, a literature professor can do a play on Julius Caesar and then teach the theme of the story, like love and loss, romanticism. So I hope this is clear to you. I've tried to explain it with analogies and examples. You can read the same from notes and it's very easy to understand. The same follows for principles as well. Just read them from notes and you'll be able to follow them quickly. And most often than not, you'll find these topics taught very differently by different people. Even the notes will be different. So, the main point is for you to take the gist and then solve PYQs. So, your main focus should be on PYQs. For that, I've added a lot of PYQs for this topic. So, do 2 3 PYQs, see if you're able to solve it. If not, read some more and then do some more PYQs. So focus on PYQs. That way, your brain will also start forming a pattern and spotting the correct answers quickly. Next is micro teaching. So, micro teaching is basically used by teachers under practice. So, anyone who's doing B.Ed would be familiar with micro teaching. So, first, a teacher who's under practice plans the curriculum, which could be short, not very long,
And then teaches a cohort, which could be their friends or sample class.
and then takes feedback immediately. And the feedback should be information dense feedback. Next, they replan it based on that feedback. And then they reteach, and then they take the feedback again. So, this is how the circle follows. Next, we have differences between teaching and learning. Again, this will be taught differently by different teachers. So, what I've done to make this particular note is I've analyzed the past year's paper, see what kind of questions they're usually asked, and based on those questions, I've formulated the differences. So, based on this analysis, teaching is a social act involving interaction and communication. Alright, so this is a key term that you'll have to remember. Learning is a personal act involving internal processing and understanding. What this means is, so every time a teacher is taking a lecture, teaching is definitely happening. But every time a student is listening to that lecture, learning may not be happening. The student could be dazed out, not interested in the subject. So that's why teaching is a social act, whereas learning is a personal act. Teaching focused on imparting knowledge, skills, and values, very easy to understand. Learning focused on acquiring and internalizing these knowledge, skills, and values. Next, teaching structured and often follows a planned curriculum. Learning can be structured or unstructured because learning can happen from a lot of ways.
You learn from your peers, your siblings, or your parents. It doesn't have to be a teacher teaching you all the time. So that's why learning can be unstructured as well.
Teaching is an interaction and is triadic. Triadic basically means teacher, student, and the content. Okay, so this helps ensure a dynamic and a comprehensive learning environment. Learning is primarily the responsibility of the learner.
Understanding is just the first part of the story, right? It's you who will have to go through the notes and do the PYQs. That's why it requires active engagement and is your responsibility as a learner to do it.
Next, teaching aims to facilitate and guide the learning, which is often measured by effectiveness of delivery. For learning aims to achieve understanding and mastery, often measured by learners' performance and comprehension.
So this is about it from this topic. The rest you can easily do it from the notes, as I hope you got the gist of it. Alright, let me go through the notes for you so that you get familiarized with it while you study. So I'm gonna log in, or you can register if you've not registered. You can go to community course for paper 1. You can go to UGC net paper 1. This is created by me. You get notes, flashcards and topic wise previous year questions. So click here and then go to pay $4.99. This will also help me create such videos and add it in YouTube. Alright, you can easily pay through UPI. Once the payment is done, it'll get redirected to the course. So it's been added to your course. Now you can view your course in My Course. So you have to go to My Course to study. Let's go to My Course. Here you can see that it's been added. My Course is for you to study. Let's go to Teaching Aptitude. I've completed basics and concepts. Now let's move on to Objective of Teaching. Here, let me show you the notes quickly. Effectiveness of teaching. This is the video. I taught you about maxims of teaching. You can go through the general principles on your own. It's very similar. MicroTeaching. This is in the video. Benefits of MicroTeaching. You can easily go through these. And then differences between teaching and learning, which I taught in the video. Qualities of effective teacher. And metacore and polycrest skills. These are very easy. Metacore is basically the foundational abilities such as teaching methods, being able to manage the class properly, communication skills. And polycrest are differentiated instructions, different assessments that you use such as project work. So these are very easy. You can directly study from the notes. Alright, now let's do some PYQs because I kept saying it's super important. Which of the following set of statements best represent the nature and objective of teaching and learning? Teaching is like selling and learning is like buying? Probably not. Teaching is a social act while learning is a personal act. This is what we learned. Yes. Teaching implies learning, whereas learning does not imply teaching. This is also correct. Teaching is kind of delivery of knowledge while learning is like receiving it. This is correct but may be oversimplified. Teaching is interaction and is triadic in nature, whereas learning is an active engagement. This is definitely correct. So from here we know 2, 3 and 5 is correct. So that seems like the best option. Alright, another question. All teaching implies learning. This is definitely correct. Learning to be useful must be derived from teaching. This is incorrect because we can learn from multiple places. A is true but R is false. Perfect. Alright, this is a question that had come in 2021. In classroom communication, teachers should acknowledge and take into account students' view. This is definitely correct. Because in a classroom, the probability of message reception can be enhanced by establishing a viewpoint. The reason is also correct because establishing a viewpoint or perspective helps in framing information in a way that makes it easy for the student to comprehend. So C seems correct. Perfect. This question had come in 2019. Which of the following is a key behavior contributing to effective teaching? Summarizing what was told by student could be encouraging students to elaborate on an answer. This also could be using direct and indirect questioning, definitely explaining concepts in a logical step-by-step presentation. So each of these seems correct. From this, what is the strongest? I feel it's C, so let me choose C. Alright, it's actually D, explaining concepts in a logical step-by-step presentation. Let's see why we are incorrect. Questioning techniques are crucial for engaging and assessing their understanding, but they serve more as tools. So this is what I mean by taking the gist of this and then doing the PYQs, because questions can be confusing. All of this seems like effective teaching, right? But this is the correct answer. So do more of PYQs, then your brain will learn a pattern of selecting the correct answer. So let me do forget. Now I know it's D, so I'm gonna do D and then I'm gonna do perfect. Now let's do an MCQ that had come in 2023 and wrap up today's topic. So first, domains of teaching responsibility and components of domain. A, planning and preparation is probably related to setting instructional outcomes. Instructions would be communicating with students. Classroom environment would be definitely establishing a culture for learning. Professional responsibility is reflecting on teaching. So A4, this seems like the correct answer. Alright, perfect. You can do the rest of the MCQs which I didn't do on your own. We've completed effective teaching practices under objective of teaching. Let's look at teaching methods, and this is super easy. We have teacher-centered methods and student-centered methods. From teacher-centered methods, we have things like lecture method, which you can just read, right? You know about it. TV, video presentation, just read about this. What is direct teaching? You can just read about it. So not something that I have to teach you. And again, similarly in learner centered, we have assignments, case studies, program instructions. You can just come and read about it and do the MCQs. And with this, we've completed the next big topic of teaching aptitude, which is objective of teaching, and we just have learning left.